Welcome to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. This is your basketball segment, and I am your host, Brian Spencer, head men's basketball coach at Carver College. And it's been a while since we've been on, so it's a pleasure to be back on. It's a pleasure to have NCAA basketball tournament as well. And I'm joined today by none other than Coach Will Jones, head men's basketball coach at North Carolina A&T State University, the Aggies. Greensboro, North Carolina. I think 1600 West Market Street.
1600 East Market Street. East Market.
East. Okay. Yeah, I used to walk there. I used to walk that street, Coach. I know a little bit about it, but I appreciate you coming on, man. Last minute notice, man. I really appreciate you coming on, Coach.
I love these. I love doing this. I love talking hoops, man. And it's March, man. So it's March Madness, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we're going to I want to get right to it because I don't want to take up all your time. So I want to get right to it. And at the end, we'll let you definitely talk about your program, what you guys got going on and this upcoming season, everything, man. But, man, first of all, man, it's just a pleasure to have the tournament, man. And, I don't want to get into the pains of what you went through, man, but it's been a tough year, man, for everybody. And just to have a tournament is a blessing, man. And I know Thursdays and Fridays, man, prior to being a head coach, all I did was watch games, now I got to do some work, but it's a pleasure to have it, man. And as always, this time of the year, you're going to get some upsets, man.
Hey, progress. One thing that we can point at that we have this tournament is that we're moving in the right direction through the pandemic.
Right.
And closer to normalcy, man, and having the NCAA tournament and the fanfares and the upsets are for us basketball heads, man, which the whole country becomes basketball fans in March Madness.
No doubt about it.
It's a great time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I don't know how much of the games you watch, man, but we've had a couple upsets, man. Which upset kind of shocked you the most?
Listen, all right, some of these things, I've always said this, when you get to the round of 64, everybody loves the David and Goliath, right?
Right.
And sometimes Goliath ain't as tough as they seem to be, and David's really good. And sometimes those high majors, when they get the tournament seeding, they're like, man, I didn't want to play these guys.
Right.
Because you're talking about 64 teams that are really good at basketball, right? All of them are good. They wouldn't be there if they wouldn't be good.
Right.
So in terms of the upset so far, Coach, I would have to say Abilene Christian over Texas, to me, is the biggest upset. Why? Because Texas, athletically, they just have an unbelievable team. They were tough in their league. They have an unbelievable coach in Shaka Smart, who've had the experience of getting his teams to the Final Four. And so to have Abilene, who's in the Southland League, and a team that you probably, wouldn't think that could compete at that level, to come in and beat Texas is definitely the upset of the year so far.
Right. Okay. I like that pick. And especially going up against Texas, like you said, Shaka, has his teams well prepared. They're gonna play hard and all that. For Abilene Christian, and they were smaller, for them to come in and play Texas the way they did, man, that was shocking. But now we got two teams, and so they'll get that one. Right, they get to the round of 32. But Coach, we got two teams that pulled off upsets that are Sweet 16 in Oral Roberts and Loyola. So of those two teams, Coach, you can kind of speak on those games, but also of those two teams, which one of those teams you think has a chance to shock some folks and get to the Final Four?
I would, if I had to rank them, right? Abilene Christian 1 and Oral Roberts 2. Okay, Oral Roberts kind of off the beaten path. A lot of people probably don't know the history of that program. And again, they play in a league that's probably more considered to be a mid-major league. And so I would pick them second in terms of, surprisingly, they get to the level that they are now. But we all see now that they have some really good players.
Right.
Again, you talk about the leading scorer in the nation, right?
Right.
So if you're the leading scorer in the nation, that means you can score that basketball. They don't have a problem with putting the ball in the basket. They can account for 20-some plus points every night because this kid can score the basketball. It doesn't matter who he's playing. And then now you put that team together. They've been winning. They've got a good chemistry. And so now you play them and you come out lackadaisical, and they believe, and they've been able to win some games. Now, on the other hand, we got to stop calling Loyola a mid-major program. All right. That program, they're in the Missouri Valley League. And if we look back over the last 10 years, the Missouri Valley has proven that they're not a mid-major league. They've had Wichita State, Northern Iowa. They've had teams that have done what Loyola has done, make unbelievable advances in the tournament. And so this team is not new. They still are fresh off a Sweet 16 bid a couple years ago. And so they, to me, still strike fear to the next team that they're going to play because they believe that they belong, and they play in a tough league.
Right. And Final Four, Coach.
Final Four. Yeah, exactly.
Championship game.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Against Villanova. So yeah, the moment's not too big for them. They have two guys that were freshmen on that team in the center, Krutwig, and also guard Williamson. So they know what it took to get to that championship game, and they run some unbelievable stuff, man.
He does a heck of a job. He has a heck of a job. And Coach, they got a nun. She's on the sideline. She's praying for him. They got a lot. You got to deal with a lot when you play out. They bringing everything down to the court with them, Coach. They're tough out.
Hey man, I'm gonna have to get her to cover me next time we come to Greensboro, man. I need her with us.
Listen, I don't need that. Hey, listen, I do not need that, man. Come on, don't do that to me.
Yeah, man. But no, it's great points, man. He does a great job with that team. But they believe in themselves. They believe in what they do. They're committed to it, and they execute at an extremely high level. And you know this, Coach, man. Like one of the things, and I had 9 freshmen this year. And one of the things that's hard to get, especially kids, stepping up to the next level in terms of from high school to college, it's hard to get them to understand that the things that worked in high school don't necessarily transfer to the next level. And to be able to get kids to buy in to what it is that you want them to do and the role that you want them to play. Just kind of speak on that, Coach, and the importance of getting kids to buy in, especially at this time of the year, and the ability to not just play hard in the effort, but the execution, because these games are going to come down the stretch, man. It's about execution.
One of the reasons why the fan loves the NCAA tournament is because the games are so good, and the games are good because these are good teams. They're not good individuals. These are good teams. So you see the execution, you see the extra pass, you see the chemistry, because these teams have won all season and they know what makes them good. And so in terms of the young man that's moving on from high school to college, depending on where they come from, and it's our job as coaches to really evaluate that and know where they're coming from, to know what type of impact they're going to have on our program. Right. And so you have some kids that are extremely talented. Maybe they play in a rural area. Maybe they're just so individually talented that, especially like scoring, everybody loves a great scorer. And so you go to the rural town and a kid may be averaging 40 points a game. He just might be that talented. He might have never played on a really good team where he's had other good teammates. Right. And so he may get to campus and his culture shock may be that he doesn't have to put it on his own shoulders, but he's been putting it on his own shoulders maybe since the 9th grade. And so he's got to get used to playing with good players. And that's something that, it can take a kid a year or two to realize I don't have to take a tough shot. I can pass it to my teammate because he's a good player too. I don't have to take all the shots. That's an adjustment. Well, you also have the kid that maybe played on a good team, but didn't play against high-level competition. And so they get to college, and the first thing that shocks them is the intensity level, the athleticism, and other kids that are more talented than him. But this kid may know how to play the game with his teammates.
Right.
And his adjustment may be the same thing. It may be a year or two. And then he realized, you know what? I was good in high school, and I might not be better than my teammate, but I know how to get into this system and learn the plays and make this team and make this system work. He may be more of a system guy, right? And so freshmen have, to figure out some things when they hit the campus, basketball-wise, socially, and then also, just stepping up to the plate in terms of managing their time and trying to get better. And so it's not just one story for freshmen. It's a couple of different things that, they have to deal with. But, that transfer portal's got about 778 in it right now. So I don't know what's going on, Coach.
Man, listen, man, I'm talking to kids, man. I like, man, if you got something, man, you better take it. Cause it's a log jam, man. Like, you guys sit around waiting for something, man. Somebody offering you something?
It's a gift and a curse.
Yeah.
And kids, coaches, some kids,
right.
They wish for something.
Right.
And I think, I remember, probably about 4 years ago when we really started to track this thing in terms of the, different publications that track the number of transfers. 500, we would say as coaches, man, we got 500 players in the portal. This is at the end of the period,
Right.
Into right now in March,
right.
Have 600 in the portal already.
Right.
Some of these kids aren't going to have a home.
Right.
Because they're not going to be 600 available scholarships, ready for these kids.
Right. That's tough, man. And it's interesting to see, man, when you talk to players and parents and coaches, and it's interesting to see, where their heads are at on this thing, man. And because a lot of people are not educated on this process, man. And, and guys like yourself and I, who, this is what we do every single day, man. The only thing that we can do is, give them the best advice that we can possibly give them. But it's tough out there for kids, man. But I want to get back to the tournament, man, because I'm sitting here, I'm watching LSU up on Michigan by 5 with about 10 minutes to go in the game. It's a great game. But, Michigan being one of the favorites to advance, everybody's talking about Gonzaga, man, and great team, Mark Few, great coach. Does a great job. I think 7 straight, maybe Sweet 16s.
Yep.
Undefeated, trying to do something that hasn't been done since Bobby Knight, 1976 or something like that, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Gonzaga and their chances of cutting down the nets? And also, who do you think has the best opportunity to knock them off?
I've told my colleagues that I compare Gonzaga to Clemson in football.
Okay.
What the league that they play in, they probably get tested about 2 times during the year. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
With BYU, St. Mary's,
right?
They probably get tested 2 times a year, and so, and then the rest of the time, they don't really get challenged. And what happens with that is you get used to a level, you get comfortable.
Right.
So any of those teams, a LSU, a Michigan, a Baylor, right? Those are the teams, obviously, they're playing LSU right now and they're down. But you look at a Baylor team, you look at the Michigan team. These teams play in leagues that every night they play, they're getting tested.
Right.
So the more you get tested, the more uncomfortable you get, the better your players get. You get stretched every night. Okay.
Right.
And so talent-wise, system-wise, Gonzaga probably has the most chemistry. All right. But it's only one game. And that's the thing about college basketball, right? It's one game, right? And so it only takes you one time. So depending on who they're playing, if that team hits them with a level of intensity, all right, they're coming off, they feel confident, all right, and they hit Gonzaga in the face, in the chest, in the stomach, they hit them hard. Is Gonzaga going to be able to balance it, take the hit, and rebound in time enough to win, right?
Right.
So, it's going to be interesting because, a Michigan, a Baylor's, they were out on COVID a couple of times and they seem to be hitting their stride right now. They're going to be a tough out,
Mm-hmm.
And so, a Michigan team that, they had a heck of a season, the Big Ten,
Right.
And listen, we got it. Hey, we're disrespecting the Pac-12, right?
Hey, they undefeated.
We're disrespecting the Pac-12, right? The Pac-12 last night, watching the Oklahoma State game. Hey, Oklahoma State playing the Big 12. That's with Baylor in there, right?
Right.
Listen, Oregon State last night, all right, was big, physical. All right. They had guys playing with a ton of confidence.
Right.
It was able to shock Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so a lot of people aren't talking about the Pac-12 teams, but those teams are better than what has been projected, which puts a couple of teams in the way of Gonzaga going into this Final Four.
Right. And I don't think the Pac-12 has lost a game yet.
Not yet, Coach. They haven't lost a game yet.
Yeah, so you're right on that, definitely, man. And listen, Coach, before I don't want to hold you, man. I appreciate you coming on, but I got a couple more questions for you, man. And I'm from Syracuse, man. That's where it all, for me, that's where it all started, man. And so I gotta ask you, and this is for my partner in crime, Vincent Turner. Me and him always talk about Syracuse, and my son told me Syracuse was trash. So he's a high school coach in Richmond, Virginia. So I got to ask you this question, Coach. Everybody talks about Syracuse every year. They talk about them in that 2-3 zone and their length and all of that. They were on the bubble to get into the tournament this year. They made it in. Do you think they got Houston coming up next week, which is going to be a good test for them? Do you think Syracuse has a legitimate shot of making it to that Final Four, getting past Houston and making it to that Final Four?
Let me tell you, Syracuse, all right, presents a problem for teams that play in leagues that don't play zone. And so my thing is with Syracuse, if they play a high major team that plays, say the Big Ten, a Big Ten team, they play an SEC team, all right? They play a Pac-12 team. A lot of those high majors don't play zone. All right? They play strictly man-to-man, right? And so you step on the court with Syracuse and you're not used to playing against zone, that's going to spell issues for that team, especially early if they can't execute and make shots, okay? Mm-hmm. They're big enough inside to rebound. So offensive rebounding is not going to be a way to beat Syracuse, which presents a huge problem for Houston. Houston, a lot of part of their offense comes from offensive rebounding. Right. They won their last game on an offensive rebound and won. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to offensive rebound at a high level versus the 2-3 zone that Syracuse plays, okay? I think the teams that have the best shot against Syracuse, believe it or not, are the teams like Loyola, the teams like Oral Roberts, because they played in leagues that programs play multiple defenses. So they're not going to be they're not going to be afraid to play against the 2-3 zone. They've played against the 2-3 zone. They've had to execute against the 2-3 zone. So they'll be a harder guard than those other teams. Syracuse presents a huge problem for whoever they play, because playing in a gym, an arena that they haven't played in all season, they don't have any familiarity, and now you're playing against a zone that's big, and they're going to play it all game, and that can present some mental challenges, all right, for players, all right, and some execution problems for the team.
Right, that's a good point, man. And I'm from Syracuse, man, and I've always questioned some teams that that Boeheim has had that I felt like he could have played some man to man. But he made a statement one time. He said, "I play the percentages, and the percentages say that you're going to shoot a lower percentage from the 3." And the zone, a lot of times, especially the way he recruits, because he recruits specifically for that.
Yes.
And with their length and the way they cover the floor, it forces teams to really shoot the 3. And he said he's going to live and die with those percentages. So it was kind of interesting philosophy. Now, myself, I think if you get the ball to that high post with somebody that can make plays, you can create a lot of challenges for Syracuse. And I don't think enough teams attack it that way. But I think that goes to your point that if you're not facing zone all the time, and then they run theirs a little differently, and then they recruit specifically for that and the length, you can't practice the way they recover out of that zone and the length and all that they have. You can't practice that because you don't have the personnel to do it.
It's tough. It's tough. The best time to play Syracuse is in between the rounds. All right. You don't want in between the rounds where you have the time off, where you can practice and get ready for the zone.
Right.
If you got to play them within the region and you have to play them on a one-day prep, they're a tough team to beat. They're a tough team to beat. And so it just be the luck of the draw on who has to face them. Right.
So listen, Coach, appreciate it. No, before we switch over, because I want to talk about North Carolina A&T. Who's your, let me get is your Final Four still intact?
Man, I didn't even pick a Final Four, to be honest with you, man. I'm just watching basketball.
Okay, because you're supposed to be in there, but we won't get into that, man. but of the teams that you got left, who you picking?
Man, I'm actually I like Baylor, man. I like Baylor. I like what they bring. I think they got a lot of energy, a lot left in the tank because they were out with COVID for such a long time. Right. And I think they may just be starting to play their best basketball, and that's what you need to be doing in the NCAA tournament.
Right. That's a good point. And then they played very well. Haven't played their first game. They came out pretty strong, Coach, and they're looking good. They're looking good. So listen, man. East Market Street, 1600 East Market Street. I spent a year there, Coach, right out of high school. And, I don't think the Burger King is still there, man. I spent a lot of time at the Burger King and the barbershop. And, I had hair back then. And back then, I don't know if they still do it now, Corbett was used as the registration building for classes. Mm-hmm. They still do that?
Yeah, they plug it in right on the top, man, up on the balconies, man. They still come in there and get a registration and orientation.
Okay, cool. But listen, man, I know you was an assistant there prior to taking the head job. You're the head man there now. Just kind of speak real quick to your journey of getting that position, Coach.
As coaches, and not really even as coaches, as individuals trying to be successful, we always say what we want to do. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a basketball coach. I want to be a pro. And we don't necessarily know the route to how we're going to get to those destinations. We wish that it was cookie cutter and that all the steps would be aligned the way that we want. But, I came to North Carolina A&T to work for my best friend, and never in a million years thought that I would, have to have the opportunity to coach at North Carolina A&T. I thought that we were going to come here at A&T, we were going to win, and then at some other program that looks at North Carolina A&T as a unbelievable university and basketball program would ask me to come be their head coach. And I had 3 interviews over the prior 3 years at Division I schools, and I felt like I was right on the cusp of getting one of those jobs, being a finalist in 2 of them. And but God had another plan, and it wasn't traditional. But in anything you do, you have to be ready. You have to be ready to show what you can do if the opportunity comes. You have to be ready for the interview. And I was happened to have success when I was asked to take over as an interim head coach. And then when the school decided to move forward, I did a good enough job to be able to take over the reins at North Carolina A&T. And it's been a great journey. We've done a heck of a job the last 2 years. We're 20-5 in my first 2 years in the MEAC. And 2 years in a row, I thought that we had the best team going into conference play. And COVID has been undefeated against North Carolina A&T the last 2 years. And so, I look at it, this year we lost 1 game in conference play. We were the South champions. And, we didn't get an opportunity to compete in our conference tournament. But right now I'm focused and locked in. We have an opportunity at North Carolina A&T to do something that is 2 other schools, Tennessee State in the OVC and Hampton in our league and in the Big South. As HBCUs, we have struggled, all right, to stamp our place in the leagues outside of the MEAC and the SWAC, quite honestly, okay? And so I'm really focused on making sure North Carolina A&T stays in the top part of the Big South. I want to stay in contention for a championship every day. And North Carolina A&T is the largest HBCU in the nation. We have unbelievable academics. Yes. We have unbelievable support. And so it's my job as the basketball coach to make sure I continue to recruit good players and that we can compete at the highest level in the Big South and outside of the Big South. I look at it as I tell people, when they allow North Carolina A&T to get into the Big South, it's like allowing the person who came into general admission in the club to get into VIP. And so I don't have any expectation to stay in general population. I like it. I'm across the barrier, and they're gonna be like, "What them dudes at? They're not down here. They're not waiting in line." Coach, North Carolina A&T is in the VIP. They got a booth. They got everything going on. And so that's what I contribute this move to the Big South to, man. And we're working hard to try to make that happen.
I love it, Coach. I love the attitude, man. I love that, man. Now I'm gonna be honest with you now. And now you're talking to. I'm a son of, my father, Coach Cornell Syracuse. So I come from that pedigree. So he, in my high school years, he moved to Fayetteville, took a job at Fayetteville State. Mm-hmm. And so that was my introduction to HBCU. Prior to that, I didn't know anything about them. Mm-hmm. But I fell in love with them. Mm-hmm. And nothing like it, man. Nothing like it. But I fell in love not with just the environment and the culture, but the rivalries. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like A&T and Central. Yep. And Fayetteville State and Winston-Salem State and all those rivalries, man. How does that move to the Big South affect those rivalries, and does it hurt HBCUs in the long run, in your opinion?
Does it hurt us in the long run? I don't think so, because we still can schedule each other. Being that we are in the Big South, it brings back the A&T and the Hampton rivalry. Right. And, with the teams, North Carolina Central, Norfolk State, two teams that we really battled with the last couple of years. We still can schedule each other.
Right.
But it's still work to be done. It's still work to be done. You know, and the only thing that can help, you know, one thing that can help us as HBCU coaches and programs is to continue to show that we can coach basketball against those other, you know, rival leagues and be successful. That's only going to help more HBCUs recruit kids. All right, because if we can be successful, that's why it's very important that we are successful.
Right.
You know, if you're gonna have your best, all right, put your best against their best. We got to be successful.
Right.
And I've said it's a place at the table for the largest HBCU in the world. It's a place at the table, and we gotta go sit down. We gotta go sit down, and we gotta let ourselves be known. And you know, it takes resources. In the HBCU, I tell people all the time, has nothing to do with sports. All right, sports is a byproduct. All right, every school has sports. All right, but every school doesn't have that culture, that HBCU connection. All right, that has something to do more so with the university. Okay, the first places that people of color had an opportunity to get higher level academics. Okay, and I tell parents that we recruit, if the best engineers in the country can come to North Carolina A&T and be successful,
and they do.
All right, the best engineers, if the best doctors can go to Howard and be successful, the best lawyers go to Howard and be successful, the best business people come to A&T and be successful. Why can't the best athlete come to North Carolina A&T and be successful? All right, we got to show that we can deliver from that side of it, so that we can get some of these top guys to come on over to the HBCU, so we can be competitive. I tell people all the time, I'm not looking to sign Zion Williamson. All right, I'm not trying to, you know, if Zion wants to come to A&T, I'll take him. All right, but it's tons.
I'm glad you clarified that.
Listen, I'll take him because he's going to make that decision. Right. He's going to say, I want to make an impact. I want to go to North Carolina A&T. Right. But it's tons of John Morants out there. It's tons of John Morants. And that's the kid that we have to recruit and find and get on campus. We get 3-4 John Morants, then you're going to see North Carolina A&T being in Loyola's position, all right, having a chance to get to a Final Four, because now you got that type of an athlete that can get it done.
Right, and the football program is proven that it can get done. So I think you know with what A&T has going on academically, definitely a good engineering program, education program. You know, definitely nursing program. You know,
another testament, coach, and I think the movement's happening. North Carolina A&T's track team ranked in the top 5 in the country.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's right.
So Texas, South Carolina, A&T, Oklahoma, right in the middle, right?
Right.
Football has won the last 2 Celebration Bowls, but the testament is they put a player in the NFL, all right, the last of each 5 years. Okay,
right.
In the NFL. Okay.
Right.
Our baseball team has won a championship. Women's basketball team went to the NCAA tournament, finished first in their league this year. Our bowling team won the championship this year. Our volleyball team went to the championship last year. Okay. We are doing what we need to do, all right, to be successful at A&T. And now we've got to take it up another level so we can be successful.
Right. I love it, Coach. So listen, man, we had the opportunity, man, to come up there and play you guys this year, man. And you put it on me, Coach. Hey, man, it is what it is, man. You put it on me, man. And you know, I think you got a good mix, man. You got some guys that can shoot it. You had some bigs, you had some athletes. Talk to me about what you're looking forward to transferring into the Big South with the type of players that you currently have, and then what is it that you're looking for that you think you might need to add to stay in that upper echelon of the Big South that you're talking about with like Winthrops and schools like that?
We just got to evaluate and make sure we get the type of player that fits our style. And I think that, we play fast, we play up and down. We like to use the 1-3-1 zone. That's been our primary defense that really gives people problems. But it gives people problems because we have good length and good speed and athleticism. Right. As a coach, I let my guys play free. And we're gonna recruit the best of the best. One of the biggest things, the education piece about HBCUs. A lot of kids, like you just said, you didn't know anything about an HBCU until your dad took a job at Fayetteville State. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the biggest things we get confused as coaches at the HBCU level is that everybody knows about an HBCU.
Right.
That's not correct. All right. If I don't reach out to the kid that's in Texas, if I don't reach out to the kid that's in Detroit, if I don't reach out to the kid that's on the West Coast, places that don't have HBCUs, all right, they're not thinking anything about an HBCU. Right. And it's not a negative thing. They just don't have any education piece of it, right? And so it's my job, my staff's job, to reach out to as many kids as we can, to evaluate those kids and see who has the interest level of an HBCU and what we have to offer, and then get them on campus. If we get them on campus at A&T, we're going to get them. If we get them on campus at A&T, and they see what the benefit is and how they can be successful, we're going to get them. And we've continually every year gotten better in recruiting. We signed top 100 kid out of Texas this year. And my goal is to sign a high-level top 150, top 200 player every year. If I can do that, then we're going to continue to win games, and we're going to be really good in the Big South.
Well, Coach, I can attest to you, man. I'm an A&T fan, man. Like I said, I went there for a year out of high school. So, I'm in my heart, I'm an Aggie, man. Even Carver, we got the same colors, But so I'm definitely a fan, man. I like what you do. I like your approach. I like, the way you guys play. I wish you all the success, man, in that move to the Big South. I think you're going to do a great job. We played a couple teams in the Big South this year. I think you guys fare very well with them. So I wish you the best, man. Appreciate you coming on, especially at the last minute. Appreciate you coming on. Anything that you want to say, plug your school, your program, anything that you want to say, man, before we get off.
Hey, if you got a son, daughter, cousin, anybody interested in going to one of the best universities in the country, all right, North Carolina A&T is one of those places. It's a place where you're going to have lifelong relationships. It's a place that you're going to want to come back every year and just rekindle those memories of being on campus and the experience. Aggie pride is real, and everybody wants to be a part of something that they can always go back to. And so it's not just about our basketball program. It's an unbelievable school, a school that's on the rise. And we welcome you guys to definitely refer the best and the brightest to North Carolina A&T.
Beautiful. Well said, Coach, man. I couldn't have said it better myself. Man, once again, man, I really appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you having us up, man. Hope we can come back up there next year as well, man.
Talking about today, Coach. We're going to get that call, Coach.
Definitely, man. Everybody like that win, man. I can't give it to you that easy this time, though, Coach. I can't.
Hey, Coach, we get a challenge, Coach.
Hey, but listen, man. I appreciate you coming on, man. You've been listening to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio, the basketball segment. I'm your host, Brian Spencer. We've been welcomed and joined today by none other than Will Jones, head men's basketball coach at North Carolina A&T, doing a phenomenal job up there. They're getting ready to move into the Big South next season. Look forward to watching you guys and seeing what you guys do in that move, and definitely wish you guys the best. Continue to watch us here on Monday nights at 8:30, 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio basketball show. And until next time, remember this: a life is only as important as the impact it has on other people's lives. So go impact somebody's life in a positive way. Thank you guys for watching. Till next week.